Hi, my name is Gemma Cremen. I'm a lecturer in Risk and Resilience Engineering at University College London, and I co-lead the computational modelling aspect of the TCDSE. The computational model is really the technical backbone of the TCDSE. So what we do is we take the visioning scenarios that are developed and we subject those visioning scenarios to multiple hazard scenarios. We then assess the impacts of those hazard scenarios on the physical infrastructure of the visioning scenario. And then on top of that, we also understand the effects of the hazards on wider society through what we call social impact modelling. And then we take those impacts that we sort of capture in terms of physical and social aspects of an urban system and synthesize those impacts into what we call a set of computed impact metrics, which are sort of formal summaries of the effects of the multi-hazard scenarios on society. In doing so, we then provide the objective measurements of the effects of the multi-hazard scenarios on society, which are then fed into more subjective discussions on those impacts. We're doing agent-based modelling, which means we're capturing each individual that lives within the visioning scenario. So from the information captured in the visioning scenario itself, we actually know where everybody goes every day. So they're complete dependencies on the built environment. So we know where children go to school, we know where adults go to work, we know where people depend on for their healthcare, for instance. In capturing that complete dependency of people on the built environment, we can begin to construct an idea of the effects of the damage to the built environment on people's daily lives. We've worked extensively in Kathmandu, and the types of impacts that we have captured there would be, the number of people that are left jobless as a result of a hazard event. So in that case, what we need to do is we need to capture the effects of the hazard on workplaces. We then need to map people and their workplace locations, and then we can understand who would be potentially made jobless because the extent of damage to their workplace is so bad. And then a next step, which we're currently developing in the model as well, is the ability to capture people's transportation requirements every day. So in that case, maybe somebody has a perfectly working workplace, but they just cannot get to that workplace as a result of damage to the transportation network. We take those impacts and we bring them to stakeholders and we allow them to see, what types of policies that are sort of integrated, embedded in the visioning scenarios are driving different aspects of the impact. And through that process, the impacts which are objective measurements, they become subjective measurements because people start owning those impacts. They start understanding which of those impacts are most important to their daily lives, and then they're able to identify the policies that best minimize risk in terms of the in terms of the way in which they view it specifically. It's able to capture a more complete effect of the hazard on society than conventional risk models, which they tend to focus on very narrow dimensions of impact, like economic loss and casualties, whereas we're able to, capture really deep effects of the hazards on society. And, when we're recording individuals and their dependencies on the built environment, we're also capturing aspects of their social vulnerability. So we're able to capture their age, their gender, their income. And that means that we're able to actually disaggregate those impacts across different income groups. So we can identify problems or challenges in terms of equity, for example, which really goes beyond that sort of very narrow-minded economic loss lens that we see in typical risk models.